Happy Frankenstein Day and welcome to the 2017 season of the Sandlot Fantasy Football League. Finally here, our draft is in the books and we got to do a podcast. This is going to be the most unprepared podcast we've ever done. But with me this week, I've got Nick, our new commit, our second year commish. Oh, there he is.
Oh, no.
We messed it up. Do it again. Do it again. Hang on.
Try it again.
All right. With me this week, I've got Nick. Oh, there he is. Bet you guys didn't know that was coming. Wait, or maybe I shouldn't have said Nick, and then it would have been. Anyway.
Damn it.
We'll go. How you doing,
behind man? Number one.
How you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm a little sick, a little under the weather.
Too much drinking?
No, too much germs and crud, I think, from that stupid karaoke bar. But yeah, that place was dirty, man.
Yes.
And also this week we've got Hillers. Hillers, how's it going, man?
I'm Hillers. My team is the best team ever drafted. Some people say it's the greatest. I don't know. I can just go off what they reported.
You're an idiot, Hillers.
I know.
Okay.
I still want to compensate for the fact that no one likes me.
So Hillers was supposed to be here and said he would. That was 25 minutes ago when we were supposed to start the podcast. So he never showed up. We've tried to call him multiple times, and that's just life with Hillers. He's not the most reliable cat in the world when it comes to scheduling things. So anyway, we're going to get going with it. We're going to run over each team, kind of go over the draft a little bit. We're going to pick our division winners, maybe even pick our champions this week, and kind of kick the season off like we normally do. So we'll see how it goes.
A little of this, a little of that. All right.
Yeah, little thunder, little lightning. So anyway, man, what were your overall impressions of the draft? Let's just start there.
Well, first of all, waiting till you get drunk until the end of the draft is a strategy to go. That's what I got to say. That was a lot better draft for me than years past. So
that's true. You were drunk at noon last year.
Yeah, I was drunk before the rules, before the vote even happened for me to be commissioner. I took the oath of office like 4 beers deep already.
Yeah, that's that was wasn't the best first draft as commish, although at least you weren't in jail your first year as commissioner.
That's true.
Which has happened before in our league. So
that's
there's a low bar for commissioners in this league. Very low bar.
As long as I did not go below it.
I think you cleared it. I think you cleared it quite well.
Thank you.
So, yeah, man, I thought it went well. I thought overall this draft, and this will be something we probably get into as we talk about it more, seemed like people spent their money a lot more in this draft than they have in the past. I agree. People were willing to go the extra few dollars for players.
Well, I think that the problem is that we were kind of in a spot this year where there was a lot of value being kept, so there was a lot more money on the table, and the talent pool wasn't. It's not that the talent pool wasn't as deep. It's that I think that there was so much money on the table that the talent pool was inflated. The cost of everyone was inflated because of how much money everyone had. So there were a couple of players that were worth the price that went, but then there were a lot of players that just went for money because people had it. And no one necessarily overspent because everyone was in the same process of bidding. Like there were very little bidding wars going on,
right?
Between 1 and 2 people towards the end. Like it was still like a league effort of getting this money off the table.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. It did seem like a lot more value in the draft. There were not as many keepers that you were like, why the hell did they keep that guy? Which led to, just more inflation. I think Andy at one point had said it was like 200% inflation, which was just crazy based on his draft software, what it was calculating. So. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But there were no terrible drafts. I don't feel like anybody really drafted terribly, which normally we come away and there's usually one person at least where we're like, ooh, I don't know what they were thinking. I feel like everybody drafted pretty well.
I agree with you. I think the one interesting thing, my one takeaway from this is everyone kind of looked at the tight end pool and I think thought that, all the elite tight ends are being kept because you can just sort of tell by their price and what they were going to go for. So I think that there were a lot more tight ends kept this year, which was really interesting. Like there was no big name tight end available to really bid on. Maybe Jordan Reed. I think he was kept too.
He was in the pool.
Olsen was thrown back.
No, Olsen was kept. Olsen was kept. Jordan Reed was thrown back.
Okay.
So the best available were Jordan Reed, Delaney Walker, and Kyle Rudolph, probably.
Okay. I just thought that it was really interesting when you were going through the keepers, and it was like, oh, you're keeping a tight end. Oh, you're keeping a tight end.
You kept two
Oh,
tight
you're
ends.
keeping two tight ends.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can talk about that strategy when we get to my team.
Right.
But yeah, so let's. I wanted to,
Yeah, so
I
let's
think
jump
we
into a
want to
little bit.
yeah.
Let's start. Have our divisions been named yet, or are these still from last year?
These are still from last year. I'm okay with these names for the moment.
Yeah. So division winners, get on it. Who was it? It's well, I guess it's got to be Patty now. Patty, Grimes, and I don't know who the third one is. Whoever you are, sex, drugs, and rock and roll are our divisions. We need those changed to whatever you guys want to come up with. Deprecating names towards other members of the league is always welcome and encouraged.
Yes, it is.
So let's start with the sex division. We're going to start my standing sheet, how it has it right here. This is not how we think they'll finish. This is just how it's laid out for some reason. I'm not sure. But it starts with End Zone Bombardment Squad.
The person who drafted from the furthest distance away.
Yeah, so Anthony ended up drafting from drinking the German beer in an Irish pub and an American bowling alley in southern Germany. So, but he did great. I mean, I think it went. That's the other thing I'll say. I think the Skype thing went well. I feel like everybody was really quiet compared to other years. I feel like we were pretty good about that. So
yes.
But anyway, Anthony came in. He kept Matt Ryan at 4. Isaiah Crowell he traded for to keep it 19. Amir Abdullah he kept at 25. Antonio Brown at 25. And Michael Thomas at 8. Some great value there. His
yes, it is.
Big draft picks. Ty Montgomery for 42. Allen Robinson for 23, Kyle Rudolph for 10, and Jaquiz Rogers for 12. What do you think, man? What do you think how this went for him?
So I think the Abdullah trade, keeping Abdullah for 25, I think was interesting. Like I don't know, I guess, but like being that he was injured all last year, and I don't really pay attention to the Detroit backfield, so I kind of thought that maybe Abdullah was going to be thrown back. So that was one of the wild card keepers. I think that I did not have him keeping on. That I did not have him keeping on. But I mean, to each their own. Ty Montgomery for 42 seemed. I think that was just an example of everyone else had gone, and you kind of realized who was that. I think Ty Montgomery, if I remember correctly, was brought up kind of in the mid to late rounds after a lot of the other running backs had gone. So 42 was just what the inflated cost of him was at that point.
He was the last one around. Yeah.
Yeah. So. I mean, so that was just the cost of the inflation. And Andy is actually quite proud of Jaquiz going to Anthony for $12 because he was bidding him up. Anthony was getting into a bidding war just because Andy has Doug Martin. Right. And it just got to a point where Andy was like, you know what? I don't want to spend any more money on Jaquiz, and I know that you don't want Jaquiz for 12, so I will just stick you with a player. I will let you spend money on a player that you actually won't even start, that you're just going to have on your bench just to drain your money pool.
See, I'm gonna push back a little on that because I think Anthony does like Jaquiz. Yeah, there you go. That's right. Take that. He's a Jaquiz fan. He's always been a Jaquiz fan. And if you look last year when Rodgers was the guy, when Doug Martin was out, he actually performed quite well. His numbers are really good. So that happens again. I mean, he only gets 3 games out of him as a starter, which isn't great. But it's 3 games of a starting running back for $12. You know, that's what you pay on waivers probably for a guy. So it's not terrible. I don't know. I don't hate it, and I don't think Anthony hates it either. But it's not,
right. But I think historically. But my only counter argument to that is that Dirk Cutter seems to really like the one running back, and he doesn't seem to really like history. Kind of like his coaching style seems to really focus on the one running back and not running back by committee.
Right.
So once Jaquiz is done, once Martin can come back, like Jaquiz is done.
Right.
And like to your point, yeah, that's $12, and I mean, where else are you going to spend it in the draft? Like this money just go away. Yeah. So if you're going to spend it, might as well just spend it.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you. Like after week 3, I think he's pretty worthless, other than a handcuff. But yeah, so I thought instead of keeping Abdullah, I thought he might keep Terrence West. For I think it was 24 to keep Terrence West. What do you like better there, Terrence West for 24 or Abdullah for 25?
I'd rather just throw them both back and see what the draft brought me.
Not the choice I gave you, Nick. Quit hedging.
Oh,
don't hedge.
I mean, at that point, I guess I'd rather have Abdullah.
Okay,
but I don't know. Like I said, I'm hedging my bets and saying neither.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go West, though I'm not happy about either one of them. It's not that they're bad. It's just there's not a lot of value there, right? It's just that's about what they're worth. I feel like. So, what did West end up going for? I don't even know.
I
21.
Okay.
So yeah, that's about where they go. Low to mid 20s.
Right.
So overall, I mean, Allen Robinson, he went for a little more than I thought he would, considering the year he had last year.
Yeah, but his talent is there. It's just the Blake Bortles effect.
Yeah.
So the question is at that point, like, do you hope that maybe Bortles turns a corner, or that maybe the other quarterback, the one Chad Henne can, is he going to be better for, like, Chad Henne might actually be the better guy option for him. Like, that might give him the deep ball that he needs to. I don't know. Again, the best, it's money spent on the people that were the best available. So we could say we could do for I think most of the picks for the purpose of this podcast, we're going to say you overspent on it, but we overspent on it because everyone overspent on everyone.
So looking at his team overall, I will say, don't love the running backs, but his receivers are ridiculous. His top two receivers are probably the best in the league, 1 and 2. So, when you got that going for you, and you got Matt Ryan, who, if he does what he did last year, top quarterback last year. So if he can get a top 3 or 5 quarterback out of him with those receivers, he doesn't need a ton out of those running backs. Kyle Rudolph at tight end, solid. So
I agree.
Anthony's got himself in a position to compete this year. I feel like pretty good job there.
I agree. So speaking of Anthony, what better segue than talking about Brad?
Talking about the Assassins.
I think that I feel like Brad keeps getting better and better at drafts, and I think that he keeps walking away with teams that are better and better and look scarier and scarier, like, at the draft. But I think then after a couple of days sets in, or once the season starts, that they kind of seem to weaken a little bit.
Right.
I liked that I like that he kept Mariota. Well, he kept Mariota. But there should be a star by his keeper name, whether or not he actually kept him or not.
What do you mean?
He was he was the person who he added at the last minute to the.
Oh, that. Yeah. I'm not sure how that. Yeah.
That's fine.
Run through his keepers real quick, though.
Sorry. So we have Mariota, or Marriott as the list lists. Jay Ajayi for 15, Melvin Gordon for 26, Jordy Nelson for 28, and Brandon Cooks for 27.
Right.
I think the Brandon Cooks thing definitely inflated. He inherently just got a lot more value in Brandon Cooks the night before the draft with the news that Edelman went out. And now all the news seems to see that Brandon Cooks is going to be the biggest beneficiary of that. I don't think that that's the case, but that's all the signs are pointing towards. So as good. It
doesn't hurt him. It helps him for sure. Yeah.
As good of as value, I feel like as good as a value as Cooks was to keep going into the draft, he got that much of a better draft knowing that Edelman blew out his ACL.
Right.
Jordy at 28. I mean, that's still a steal. Mm-hmm. I like Melvin Gordon at 26. I know that he had a rough rookie year, and that showed in the fact that he was able to secure him again for $26 last year, or $23 last year,
right.
23 or 21, whatever. So, and the fact that he paid off in year 2 is great for him because he now has a player on his roster that he can arguably keep for another 5 years. $3.
So jumping in, sorry to jump in here, but he threw back Jordan Reed. He had it $5.
I think and that's fine. I think given Watson and maybe his not ability to read the draft board of what was going to be out there or kind of anticipate things, maybe Jordan Reed wasn't someone he thought that he didn't want to deal with the injury clause. Like he didn't want to deal. Like maybe he thought that $8 for Jordan Reed was like, you know what? I don't want to have to find another tight end. I mean, Jason Witten. Oh, he did pick up 2 tight ends, but I mean, he has.
Maybe that was hurt. So
yeah, I mean, maybe it was just a question of not wanting to deal with having Jordan Reed on your team, which I completely understand.
I think it came down to, do you want Jordan Reed or Brandon Cooks for him, or maybe Mariota? So those are the 3, right? You got to pick 2 of those 3, and he went with Mariota and Cooks and threw Reed back. If it were me, I might have thrown Mariota back, and kept Reed. I don't know. I think Jordan Reed is, for $8 to keep, not a ton of investment. If he does get hurt, you're not that crushed.
Right.
So I don't know. I would have done that, but he came out of here as big picks in the draft. He took Mixon for 37. Rookie who looks to be the number 1 guy in Cincinnati right now. Larry Fitzgerald at 17. That's a Watson guy right there.
Yes, it is.
He took He backed up Melvin Gordon with Brandon Oliver. He got a pair of Chargers receivers. Got the two Clemson rookies, Mike Williams and Deshaun Watson. Overall, he didn't have a ton of money coming in to spend. His big pick was really Joe Mixon and Larry Fitzgerald. Those were his big guys that he took. And, those are good, reliable guys that you can plug into a flex spot. And
Right.
I don't know that Joe Mixon's reliable, I have to caveat, but Fitz is as reliable as they get at receiver. So, solid draft. I think if his keepers work out, Watson's got a shot this year.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is a question of just Gordon, Jordy, and Cooks. I mean, if those are the only three people that he kept going into the draft, and he said, you know what, I don't trust J.J. I don't trust what Miami's going to do, and while J.J.'s had some good games, like I don't trust that he's going to do this. I'd rather have an extra $15 in the draft to spend on a rookie. I'm just saying, I'm just okay. The point of it is that the combination of Gordon, Jordy, and Cooks is going to be enough to carry this team.
Yeah, sure. And he wasn't. I talked to him before the draft. He wasn't thrilled about Ajayi, and he said, "I think he's going to screw me." But at that price, he kind of has to keep him.
You're not going to. It's a $15 player. A $15 keeper isn't going to screw you.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, he's not thrilled about it, but whatever. All right. Moving on to the Choops, our next team here. JD, who drafted from the great state of Connecticut. Is Connecticut a state or a Commonwealth? It's a state, right? Whatever. Province? I don't know.
Armpit. It's armpit of New York, right?
No, that's Jersey.
Oh,
it's different. Okay. Yeah, Connecticut is like the I don't know, what's the elegant part of the body? Connecticut's like the nicer part. I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever.
The navel.
The navel. Sure. There you go. So JD came in. He kept. He had a lot of money coming in. He kept Dak at 4, Devontae Freeman at 14, Paul Perkins at 6, and Zach Ertz at 4. For what is that? A combined $28 spent. So he had $172 to spend in the draft, and he did a lot with it. His big first pick was Terrell Pryor at 33, which was way higher than I thought he'd go. He took McCaffrey at 37, Stephon Diggs at 14, Jonathan Stewart at 17, Deshaun Jackson at 11, and Emmanuel Sanders at 20, and Jeremy Maclin at 10. What do we think with what JD did with his gobs of money?
I mean, I think he could have walked in with a little bit more money, and I think keeping Zach Ertz was interesting. I don't know why you would keep Zach Ertz. Like, there's no reason to think that you couldn't get him back in the draft for $1, maybe $2. I mean, again, we're arguing semantics. Like, I mean, it's not like he left a lot of money on the table. So, like, I mean, you spent it where you thought. And Perkins was an interesting pick. I don't necessarily think I had him keeping Perkins, but to be honest, I actually have less interest in the Giants backfield than I do the Detroit backfield.
Nobody cares about Paul Perkins. Like, that's one of the guys. Like, nobody's talking about Paul Perkins this year because it's
and that could be a value. Like, and the question is, I don't know how much money I would have thrown at Paul Perkins. I wouldn't have known who that was, but I know that there would have been people out there that would have bid more than $6 on him.
I think he'd have gone for 20 to 25.
Yeah, I think
starting
that's
running back.
Yeah, he's starting running. Then just for that fact alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, between Dak Prescott, Devontae Freeman, again, those two keepers alone is what he could build his team around.
Yeah.
I liked Terrell Pryor. That's a lot of money for that. And that Terrell Pryor is what is probably the most hyped player coming out this year.
He's the make or break guy on this team, I feel like, because that's his number one receiver right now, Terrell Pryor. He's got to pay off if this team's going to do anything, I feel like. But now he's deep at receiver because he's got Emmanuel Sanders down there. He's got Jeremy Maclin down there. And he's got a lot of number twos, strong number twos.
Right.
But nobody really scares you in this receiving core. Maybe Terrell Pryor is that guy.
He could be, and if Terrell Pryor lands out, that's going to be if this team's going to do well, it's got to be because Terrell Pryor works out. Having McCaffrey and Stewart, having the handcuff there is good. I don't think Stewart's necessarily going to be worth $17, but I think that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spending for overspending on a defense. But again, it's here. And this is an example of like having $9 left over in the draft and saying like, and again, I mean, he spent look at how much money he overspent for people, and he still had $9 left in the draft.
Well, he had 172. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's weird. I mean, I don't know. That's so much money to have coming into the draft. So, it's not like there were a lot of stud receivers out there to get either. We got to keep that in mind, right?
That's true.
So, I mean, he threw guys back, but he did the best he could pulling these guys. I mean, you look around, maybe Demarius Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins. Like, are those guys that much better than Terrell Pryor and Emmanuel Sanders? Stephon Diggs. I don't know that they
better
are.
than Terrell Pryor in that they're at least proven and you know what you're going to get out of them.
Yeah.
But so I mean, that's a pure upside pick.
Yeah.
And I think that Deshaun Jackson at 11 could be a steal as well. If now that Deshaun Jackson is going to be on a better offense.
Yeah. I can't be rational about Deshaun Jackson. I just hate him on a personal level. So
okay, well, there is that.
I'll let you weigh in on him.
Okay.
He is what he is. I mean, we all know what he is. He's either catches a long touchdown and gets you. He's either 4 catches for 100 and a touchdown, or 4 catches for 28 and no touchdown. So
right.
It's like,
or on your bench because he's hurt.
Or on your bench because he's hurt. Right. So
right.
JD had some work to do coming in. He got Christian McCaffrey. A lot of people love Christian McCaffrey this year. Maybe the future of that Panthers running game.
Yep.
37 is not a ton of value, but if he pans out to be the guy, a $40 running back keeper who, a top 10 running back potentially next year, if he pans out, that's what you need for that $40 to pay off.
Yeah. All you need is these guys to finish in the top 10-ish or so flashes that they can show that they can be top 10.
Right.
Because again, I think that. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
So, when you are in a league in a situation where you know that Le'Veon Bell and Johnson are going to be off the table,
yeah,
you're going to have to overspend on running backs.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't know if that's overspending. I think that's about right. But
yeah,
considering our draft and inflation, but not a bad draft by GD. I think he's probably concerned about his receivers like we are, but. We'll see. We'll see because there is a lot of potential there. So if any of those guys pop, he should be in good shape.
What is another name for an automobile?
A car.
Speaking of car and duplex and mediocrity.
Wow, you are the master of the Segi.
I try.
Yeah.
So Dave walked in with David Carr, Latavius at $9, Latavius Murray at 14. Amari Cooper at 23 and Devontae Adams at 10 as his keepers.
I don't think it's Riley Cooper.
No. I was like, I have no Mr. Cooper.
People that
you are. What is someone that I hang with?
Yeah.
I think that these keepers, they're very Dave keepers, and I think keeping Derek Carr, David Carr, I'm going to call him all sorts of D cars until whatever Carr. At $9 is a very Dave pick. I think it was a good pick because I think he would go for about that in the draft, maybe.
Dave shows loyalty to his guys.
He does. Murray at 14 is a no-brainer. Even again, no matter what the situation is, I
don't get that. I don't get that one at all.
You have to at $14.
He's the third running back to me in that backfield because you got Dalvin Cook, you got Jerick McKinnon, and then you got Latavius Murray. Like I don't.
So you have it's the first two. I don't think that. We'll see. I think that it's worth again, given the dread situation, you keep what you're presented with.
I don't know. Let me see, who did I have Dave keeping? Keep going. I'm looking here.
So we have Mr. Cooper at 23 and Devontae Adams at 10. Again, good safe picks. I think Devontae Adams would have gone for more than 10, so that's good. Cooper's at about his price. And he had his big spenders seem to be a tie between Golden Tate, Jordan Reed, and and Terrence West at $21.
Yeah.
With Dante Moncrief and John Brown.
Yep.
At 11.
13 and 11.
Yeah. I like how some of these people you're like, oh hey, it's just like Edelman, or it's the names that you decided to use a first name for were the ones that actually there are multiple J Browns, or there are multiple like S Smiths, or there are multiple like that doesn't help me at all.
Right. Trying
to find these players.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think that they're all like very Dave picks. They're very safe picks. There's nothing flashy about them, and they are going to do well. You know what you're going to get out of them.
yeah,
You got Jamal Charles for $1. Speaking of
yeah.
like how the mighty have fallen.
Got Mr. Irrelevant. He was one of the last picks of the draft too. I mean, that's crazy. But he has C.J. Anderson at 26, so that makes Jamal Charles even better there because if Anderson doesn't pan out and Charles gets that job, then he's still good.
Right,
So
and he has
that,
$27 in the Denver backfield.
So that
so
gives,
it's going to be Booker that's going to be the one that's walk away with it.
Right, that's right. So go get Booker. Yeah, I mean Dave's draft. What did he need coming in? He needed to solidify the running back position. Did he do that with C.J. Anderson at 26? Maybe. C.J. Anderson's a really talented running back. I think people just worry about that offense and how much they can move the ball. And if they can't move the ball, then obviously the running backs. There's some hard hitting analysis. Then the running back's not going to score that much for you. But
right.
But especially if they're losing a lot, they're going to have to be chucking it, and he might not be your guy there. But Golden Tate at 21, that guy's a 90 catch guy every year. Jordan Reed at 21, that's about what a top 5 tight end goes for. $15 to $20. So with the inflation, there you go.
Yep.
And then he got Terrence West. Like we already talked about for 21, the starting Baltimore back. So I think his starting running backs coming in are going to be Terrence West and C.J. Anderson for Week 1. Not terrible. So there's not. I don't think there's any elite big studs. Like if you were to throw this team into a snake draft, he has very few guys that are going in the first 3 rounds, but he has a lot of guys that are in the next few rounds.
Right.
So again, there's a lot of guys who could pop here. It's a pretty deep team, even though it's not a very stars and scrubs team. I think he kind of went well balanced across the lineup here.
So do we want to go ahead and wrap up the sex division and guess who we think is going to walk away with us?
Yeah, let's do that. Who do you got?
Okay. I'm going to take, as a preseason favorite, I'm actually going to go with Watson. I think that Gordon, Jordy, and Cooks is going to be enough, and I think that Mariota just needs to, if he just turns, he doesn't even have to turn the full corner. He just has to start the turn going into the final turn to kind of make the step. And I think that I actually like the Titans a lot this year. I would personally put them in as winning the division. So I think that they're going to win a lot of games, and I think Mariota is going to be the reason for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's my early favorite is the Assassins, but I think this is going to be a very boring division to watch. This might be a boring division to watch.
I think I'm with you on the Assassins. I think they have the strongest running back wide receiver course. And so I just go with them on that. The highest upside in those running back wide receiver course. So I'm going to go with that. I think that's the differentiator.
Do you have a wild card coming out of this division at this point?
Not at this point. Maybe by the end when we realize how mediocre every team is in the league.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think that was going to be my answer too. So let's move on.
Yeah. All right. Next division is the drugs division. We're going to start with peanut butter jelly time. Brett's team here, who Brett had a lot of money coming in. Brett kept Alshon Jeffrey at 18 and Jimmy Graham at 9, which gave him $1 more than JD. He had 133 to spend coming in, and Brett was buying players like they were going out of style, man. It started out with Marshawn Lynch, who we got for 32. He was one of the first nominations. Went for almost double what I thought he'd go for. Not that I think it's bad, because I had him for low 20s, I think, but I wasn't sure that I wanted him for that. He took Mark Ingram at 24, Russell Wilson at 14 as his quarterback. He pulled Demaryius Thomas to round out his receiving core at 27. And then, let's see, Danny Woodhead at 13. Samaje Perine for $26, which was high. But I think, again, that was one of those things where people just had money to burn at the end of the draft, and he's a rookie.
That's a hometown pick.
Yeah, a little hometown pick, too. You're right. And he's a rookie, so he's fun. Yay, rookie. Corey Coleman, Willie Snead, Willem Jefferson Snead, as we call him on this podcast. But what do you think about Brett coming in here? What he did to hopefully rebuild the squad?
Well, okay, so you're not going to keep. Brett has historically been in a constant rebuilding mode, waiting for that next big value to come around. I don't think that in this league you can go from one of the worst teams to just the powerhouse in 1 year because the amount of money that you have to spend to get the players to be competitive aren't players that you can build your team around.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not going to build your team around having Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Demaryius Thomas. Yeah, or around Demaryius Thomas, like around those guys.
Woodhead.
Those guys aren't Woodhead might. Woodhead.
But he's like
no, you're not going to
32.
do it around Woodhead for
He's older
13
now.
for $18 for $30. Yeah, you might not do that with Danny Woodhead either. So while on paper I think that his team could be okay, long term I still don't really like his team. And I know that that's not what we're talking. We're talking about can he win the division this year?
Yeah.
I don't know how much I like Marshawn Lynch at $32. I mean, he is over 30, and he is like he took a year off, but he still took a year off. Like, and it's Marshawn Lynch.
I think he could get 12, 13 touchdowns this year. Just goal line guy. They could just bring him in to fall into the end zone. It's a good offense. They can move the ball. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. There's potential.
I don't know if Jimmy Graham would have been worth $9 in the draft. I don't know if I would have known going into the draft that I was going to spend $9 on Jimmy Graham. Once the draft started going with that, maybe. But the question is, would I have wanted to spend $9 on Jimmy Graham when I could have got Kyle Rudolph for $1? Would have been the question I would ask myself. And not that I'm trying to say like don't keep this person, don't keep that person. And we're okay. Let's stick on the topic at hand. Mm-hmm. How did he do in the draft, and what do we like about his team?
So what I'll say is coming in, one of the big things is Brett going to keep Zeke? That's something that a lot of us were wondering, right? He had him for 54. Sounds crazy, but you
and I talked about this, and we said that, no offense, Brett, but a good owner, you could make a case where if Evan or even Grimes, maybe like someone who has repeated success in this kind of format, you could make the case that at $57, $57, whatever it was, that you could keep Zeke because you could build a team around that.
For 3 more seasons, probably.
Yeah, for 3 more seasons. Like
if he stays as good as he was.
If he stays as good as he was, he's worth it because if he was healthy or if he was not suspended, there was that. And there started to be rumblings of whether or not he was going to appeal at that point and what was going to happen. So if he had kept Zeke, it wouldn't have been a shock, but it would have been like, okay, you're all in for the future, and I'm okay with that. Like,
well, here's why I think he probably should have kept him. And I wasn't sure, but the more I've thought about it the past few days, I realize, and the more once you see the draft play out, I realize that even if you keep Zeke, come week 8 when he's getting ready to come back, that's near our trade deadline, and that's about the time when we know who's going to make it and who's not, and that's about when dump trades start happening. So what people start doing is they start saying, all right, I need to make a trade. So Brett could deal Zeke for like 2 keepers that are really solid that maybe are on IR this year but are going to come back strong next year, right? That's where you start getting your value. That's where you start rebuilding your team. Like, I know I remember I've done that in the past. I think I dealt Adrian Peterson when I had him for like 70, and I got Jamal Charles for like $6 one year because he was on IR. And so I got him next year. I had Jamal Charles, who I built around for the next 3 or 4 seasons, and that kind of worked out for me. I mean, it got me to the playoffs once or twice, but that's kind of what you have to do is plan long term. So even if you keep Zeke at 54, come week 8, if a team's competing for the title, they don't care how much he costs because they just want to win this year. They're going for it, man. They're all in this year, so they don't care. They'll deal keepers for next year if they're not going to help them this year. So, just something to keep in mind. Overall, I'll say Brett. I think his draft was fine. I think it was very similar to the ones we've talked about. Pretty well rounded. I think P. Ryan ended up just so crazy overpriced because, like you said, moment in the draft, and he just got in a bidding war, and why the heck not? Eventually, it just gets emotional, and you're like, "Screw you, I'm getting this guy." Just keep going.
Again, like you say that he's overspent on, and maybe history is going to look back and say that, but he still left $4 on the table, so he overspent for the guy that he wanted, and he still left money on the table.
Right.
So
exactly
good. I mean, you went after the guy that you want, and you bought him regardless, and you still had money to spend. Like if he really wanted him, and he lost him for $25. Then you look back at it and say, man, instead of getting that, I got Darren Sproles for $8, and there's my,
Right. That's not an upside guy, right? Like P. Ryan, at least in a team you're trying to rebuild. What if he turns into a stud this year? He's a guy you can keep for a few years. Sure. All right. Next team here, Asphalt Farm, or Patty's Krabbies. Did he change that name?
As far as I know, it's Asphalt Farm because he hasn't changed it on the website yet.
Come on, Patty. Come on, man. Little effort, buddy. Let's go. Patty was not able to make the draft, so we got my brother-in-law Clay to draft for him. Thank you, Clay, for doing that. We're very grateful. It's not easy to sit there and draft for another team, but on the plus side, he had absolutely no money to spend coming in. So he kept Drew Brees for 20, LaShawn McCoy for 42, Lamar Miller for 28, Julio for 29, and Tyler Eifert for 10. He had mainly two big picks. He took Jarvis Landry for 16 and Jamal Williams for 26. The Packers RB2, I guess he is.
I don't know. You're the one that put in Jay Williams.
Yeah, pretty sure it's Jamal Williams. I don't know who else it would be.
Joe Williams, the running back?
No, he's another place. But anyway, I'm pretty sure it's Jamal Williams. He didn't have a ton to spend, so there was not a lot to do in the draft for Clay. So he had, what did he have to spend? I mean, it was like $45 or something he had to spend. It was crazy. It was very little. So he pulls Jarvis Landry for 16 to round out the receiving core. And then he also got Corey Davis, rookie receiver for the Titans, for $6 to throw on the flex, or Matt Forte for $6 as well. So what do you think here?
I think that, has Clay ever done a auction draft in football before that you know of?
Yeah, he has.
Okay.
I don't know if he's done a live one, but I know he's done them.
I mean, it shows in the draft that he didn't take the bait and spend more than $1 on a kicker or a defense.
Right.
Which is good in this kind of situation, especially when you have no money to walk in left.
That's true.
Jarvis Landry for $16 is
it's fine.
Good is fine. $26 for a rookie wide receiver or rookie running back. I don't know how I feel about a Green Bay running back. Is he? I think he is.
I don't know. I don't know anything about him.
I don't know. Hillers, what do you think? Oh yeah, he's going to be the greatest player to hit the rosters ever.
Hillers, your voice has changed and you sound very southern all of a sudden.
I just went through puberty. Talk to me next time.
Shut your word hole. So,
yeah, fourth round pick this year.
Okay. So yeah, I guess 26 for rookie. That's kind of where they were going. The later rookies, like the second, third tier rookies, is about what they were going for. Carson Wentz down there for 4. You got Charles Clay for $1 down there, Sterling Shepard. So again, not much could be done here. It's hard to grade this draft just because he didn't have a whole lot to work with, and the starters were so good, the keepers are so good already. So
right.
What do you really need?
Exactly.
So not much to say about this draft here, but I'm looking forward to having Patty.
This is one of those teams that Evan kind of built, and Patty just sort of is going to take over, and we'll see how he manages it and what happens from here.
Yeah, I mean, he's got probably 1, maybe 2 more years with this core in place before he's really going to make some changes just because of the prices of these guys. Probably 1 year with McCoy. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't think, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let's see. Wigne's are next. Masters of Elegance. Wigne, sorry. The S is silent. I always mess that up. Wigne came in keeping, he traded for Aaron Rodgers, kept him for 34, traded for Todd Gurley, kept him for 43. I think he traded for Doug Martin, too. Kept him for 17. Still got Mike Evans for 10, and traded for A.J. Green for 33, right? No, he had Doug Martin last year. He didn't trade for him, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll look.
Big picks, so he didn't have a ton of money coming in either. Very similar to Patty's team here. So his big pick was Randall Cobb for $10, and the rest were all single-digit picks. Single-digit dollars.
I mean, that's what you're going to do.
He got Jameis for $5, pretty solid, considering he's probably not going to keep Rodgers again next year. Chris Hogan for $7 was kind of a sexy sleeper pick with Julian Edelman going down the night before.
Yeah.
James White was one of the last picks. Grabbed him, and he got Joe Williams for $3. Wendell Smallwood for $5. If Garrett Blount doesn't work out, could be great.
Yeah. I made the mistake of looking over at him and saying something about Wendell Smallwood, and he looked up at the draft board and saw that he had like $20 and I had $6. He was like, "Yeah, you're not getting him."
There you go.
So that's why when he started the bidding, he goes, "Wendell Smallwood, $6." I was like, "Well, fuck you."
Yeah. Well, he got him for $5, so he didn't say that. But anyway, well, maybe it was above your max bid at the time.
Yeah,
was what it was. So anyway, what do you think what Andy did here? I mean, he told me he was all in for this year, so didn't have a whole lot to do this draft.
Yeah, I think that the only thing that's interesting is keeping Todd Gurley for 43. Like I just don't. I think that it's been. I tried to look this up a couple earlier today, but I got sidetracked with doing something else. But how many times have the Rams, be it St. Louis or LA, drafted the next great running back who had a great year? It was Zach Stacy. It was the other guy before Todd Gurley. Then it was Todd Gurley. But they're always like they draft him, he has a great year, then he falls off a cliff. Then they draft the next great guy, and he has a great year, and then he falls off a cliff. And then he has a great year, and then he falls off a cliff. Like at some point, you're gonna
Yeah.
say, well,
Yeah, but Zach Stacy's not Todd Gurley. I mean, Todd Gurley was he's a stud coming out. I mean, he was a
but it
guy
was who was the other guy? It wasn't
I have
the
no
guy who's like
idea.
in trouble with the law right now.
No idea.
Someone else.
But look, I mean,
Wait.
Carlos Hyde went for 47 in the draft. So what do you think Gurley would have went for?
Oh, Gurley would have gone for more than that. Like
Yeah.
I think that great name recognition alone was going to Gurley. I did not have being kept, and he was on my do not draft list because I did not want to have any part of him.
Yeah.
There was starting to get a little bit more hype around Hyde, and I think that if Hyde could stay healthy, Hyde was worth that, and I would have been on the bidding to a certain point to get him into the $40 range, and then depending on what the other price range, whatever the prices were going for running backs of that tier,
Yeah.
would and how much money I had left and whatever else, depending on how much further I chased it. But
I just bring him up because he was kind of the closest ranking wise to where Gurley was, I feel like, who went in the draft, maybe Fournette. So that's kind of our comparison. Like if you didn't keep him, where we go. And Andy said before the draft, he's like, I know I don't have a lot of value with Gurley. He's like, but I'm keeping him just for kind of peace of mind, just to have him coming in, just so I have
Right.
that running back. So I will say about this team, it is not deep at all. I mean, if any of these running backs go down,
or doesn't perform.
or one of these wide receivers goes down or doesn't perform, there's not a lot there to fill in the gaps.
Well, you can say that about any team though. So I feel like that's
Like we mentioned, Dave's team is really strong really steady top to bottom. Like he doesn't have the elite guys Andy has. Andy stars and scrubs all the way.
yes.
Whereas Dave's more consistent throughout. And some of these other teams we talked about, Watson's a little more consistent maybe throughout. So I don't know. I think that's what I'm saying. Like but his starting lineup, his keepers were the best of anybody's. I think by far. So
Yes.
we're
He
picking
seems to
nits
be
here.
he seems to be all in on the Buccaneers though.
Doug Martin, Mike Evans. Yeah.
James
He's
Winston.
got Jameis on his bench.
Right.
He is a little Bucks heavy. He's been watching a lot of Hard Knocks, I think.
I guess so. Yeah.
What do you think about this team, Hillers?
Oh, I don't like it. But it has Eric Rodgers, so this team can do anything it wants to do. This team's gonna win it all. It's gonna be the best team ever. It's just gonna run away with everything, and it's gonna make the league pay for it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's move on. Last team in this division, the Hitmen. So go ahead. You can do this one if you want. It's kind of
Okay.
weird me too.
So yeah. So you walked in with keeping Rob Kelly for 6, Odell Beckham for 19, Doug Baldwin for 12, Martellus Bennett for 8, and Spencer Ware for 6. You had your big spending on Kareem Hunt, Adrian Peterson, Keenan Allen. I think that's it for your big spending.
Carlos Hyde.
And Carlos Hyde. You currently have Luck out for week 1, most likely. OBJ out for week 1, maybe. Spencer Ware out for the season. There's another
Cameron
person.
Meredith. Out for
Cameron
the season.
Meredith. Oh, Cameron Meredith is out. Is that did I get them all already?
That's as of 30 minutes ago. Yeah.
Now, right. Again, we're not jinxing anything. I'm purely stating cold hard truths right now.
It's been a rough week.
It has been a rough week for you. So we all knew you were keeping Rob Kelly for 6, Fat Rob Kelly, and OBJ and Doug Baldwin because you traded for him.
Yeah.
I think keeping Bennett for 8 was interesting.
I
Did
traded
you
for
see?
him, though.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
I like him on the Packers. I think he's the most talented tight end the Packers have had, maybe since Jermichael Finley, but I think he's even better than Jermichael Finley. Yeah. So for $8, I think he could be a 8 to 10 touchdown tight end.
Again, going back to what we were saying earlier, though, is like all the tight ends that were kept is like, who would have had like Martellus Bennett being kept on your team? Like
Well, anybody who watched the trading that happened before the draft, who saw me trade for him,
maybe. Spencer Ware was obvious. You're obviously going to keep him.
because
Um,
I traded for him.
and knowing that, I think that you actually did a good job in the draft. I mean, as much as we want to bust your balls for like how cursed you are with picking up players, you were able to handcuff a lot of the big people on this. Like whether you meant to or not, like I don't know why in the draft you would decide to go for the Bears wide receiving core. Like, you know who I
Mike
want.
Glennon, dude, silly.
Yet it worked out for you, and it only cost you $8. So
Yeah, you got to get Cameron Merrill this handcuff, bro.
you gotta
I mean,
get.
come
you
on.
got
So yeah, I woke up Saturday morning and found out that Spencer Ware was probably out for the year, which was awesome. Although we didn't know quite yet, which is why I kept him. I don't know. He might not be on my roster long. That's an IR spot I might not use all year for him. We'll see. Because if Kareem Hunt works out this year, then Spencer Ware is kind of a done deal in Kansas City. I needed another running back. You know, I had my eye on Carlos Hyde. I like him in that Kyle Shanahan offense. Kyle Shanahan
Right.
offense is really they get good value out of their running backs. So
yeah, just as long as we don't play in the Super Bowl because they like to pass when they're up.
true, yeah. So I don't care about that because the season's long over by then. So luckily I got to handcuff. I got Kareem Hunt towards kind of the later part of the draft to help me out with the Spencer Ware injury. Got him for 23, which could work out. I'm thinking that may be the best value for a rookie running back right now, just based on the injury that happened.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of surprising that you were able to get him. I was long out of the running for spending that kind of money on someone.
Yeah.
At that point, I couldn't, because I think at that point when he came out, I had like $50 left, and everyone knew that I needed to save that money for McFadden,
Yeah.
so I couldn't go hunting. No pun
Oh,
intended.
nice! Look at you.
But you know what? Like you can say, like, you can look at your kids some one day and say, hey, you know what? On my fantasy team, I've had Aaron Rodgers, I've had Jamal Charles, I've had Adrian Peterson, I've had like all those people that were fantasy studs have been on your team at some point.
This Adrian Peterson, this feels like I'm going to end his career this year. Honestly, this feels like the Peyton Manning thing all over again. It feels like the David like catching them at the end of their career. It's like, it's some good value though. Even though they're old, they can still kick it, man. And then Adrian Peterson's going down with like some kind of like spinal stenosis or something like halfway through the year. I don't know. But Keenan Allen, I love this year.
I was just gonna say,
people forget how good he was when he was healthy. That's a big win, and doesn't help him that he's on my team. But
no, for $30, that's the right price for him. Like that's good. I did have him in the $30 to $40 range, so you actually had him a lot cheaper than for a lot better deal than.
Yeah, I would have gone to 35 for him. And then, so I feel like my receivers are obviously my strong point. My top 3 receivers, I think, are the best in the league. Andy's got the best top 2, but Watson does, but or no, who does?
Andy, EBS, Watson,
EBS, but I think his fall off after his third. So I don't know. We'll see. It's close. But anyway, yeah, we'll see. Team's crushed by injuries already. God knows what's going to happen. Who you got?
Yeah,
who you got
I
in
mean,
this division.
You go because I don't know unless you needed me to stall.
I'm going to take Andy. I think this is the year when it kind of falls together, kind of falls into place for him.
Andy would hate it if I said yes. That is, I mean, again, based on paper, based on what we know as of August 30th, yes. Like Andy has the healthiest team. It's the best team on paper. Like he doesn't have much depth, so as long as everyone can stay healthy, he's fine. Knock on wood, if this is something that you kind of believe in, which I sort of do, is that AJ Green had his big injury last year. So my injury concern for AJ Green is washed out right now because I figure everyone's due for one big injury, and that was his. Mm-hmm. So I like AJ.
Top 2 receivers are really good too. I forgot. They're insane. So,
yeah.
His top 5 guys are just awesome.
Yeah, his keepers are fine. His keepers alone are what's going to keep him afloat.
Yeah. If he stays healthy, he wins the division, I think.
Yeah, and I think that having James White in there as his flex is going to be
It'd
fine.
be sneaky good. Yep.
I agree. Yeah, and again, as of right now, I don't. Well, a wild card has to come out sometime, unless we're going to say that all the wild cards are coming out of the last division. And I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen.
Right. So I don't know. I'm going to go to the last division, then we'll come back. So
Okay.
So we both got Andy.
I guess we both have Andy.
Okay.
All right, we don't have Brett. Oh, you know what? No, and Patty. I think Patty is. I think between Patty and Wienye is the division wild card.
It's a strong division for sure.
There's 1 and 2. There's one. There's 1 and number 4.
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump to the Dad Dicks here in the rock and roll division. Right. Dad Dicks came in keeping the best running back duo in the history of fantasy football, and David Johnson for 9, Le'Veon Bell for 28, Kirk Cousins he kept at 7. Right about what he would have gone for probably.
Yep.
Devontae Parker for 8, pretty sexy sleeper again. This is the year. This is the year for Devontae Parker.
Right.
Greg Olsen at 23, pretty high, but Dad Dicks loves his tight end. As he said before the draft, a good tight end is the key to winning a championship. Totally ignoring his running back duo. But his big picks were Garcon at 14, Frank Gore at 25, DeAndre Hopkins at 28, Brandon Marshall at 12, and Adam Thielen at 10, and Alvin Kamara at 19. So, man, he had a lot of money even with those keepers. That's
I know.
crazy.
Well, when you can keep them for
$37,
$37,
you can keep them for a Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I really like. I
Leonard Fournette. No, that's okay. That's
draft.
too expensive. I'd rather keep these other 2 guys.
I love this draft. I love everything about this draft. I love Garcon and that Kyle Shanahan offense. I don't know if you watched the preseason game last weekend, but every freaking pass they dropped back, they were looking to Garcon every play. I mean, he went out and got him from Washington. He's the one who who brought him into Washington, and then he went to San Francisco, brought him over there. He loves Pierre Garcon. I think they're going to target him a lot. DeAndre at 28, that guy was a top 5 receiver coming into last year. People loved him. Even Brandon Marshall at 12. I mean, I'm kind of.
But Brandon Marshall's not going. He's going to be his fill-in, which is fine.
Right.
Well, that's not your.
But for $12 and a fill-in as your wide receiver 4, I mean, that's great.
Yep.
So
he potentially has the New England running back for whatever week that he starts them with Burkhead.
He's in on that that lottery, the New England lottery.
And Thielen for 10 is good if you
even Hooper at 3.
And again, look at his. I mean, he spent $3 on Eli, $3 on a defense, and $3 on a kicker. So that's $2, $4, $6 extra that he spent.
No $1 players on this roster.
Right.
Crazy.
And he walked away spending all his money in the draft.
Spent every dollar.
This may have been this was the first person in the draft to do that. That we talked about so far to spend all of his draft.
After we've talked about these other teams, he had a great draft. God. We did not need him to have a great draft, and he had a great draft.
No, he didn't. I hate him. I hate the team. I hate the team. This team's horrible.
Hillers, calm down. No, you calm down.
That is just like Hillers. I swear I thought he signed in. All right, good job, Grimes. Let's move on here.
Speaking of Hillers.
Grimes, you're the new Evan. We all hate you. Hillers Fake Football, the next team here. Hillers kept Tom Brady at 13, Jordan Howard at 4, Tevin Coleman at 14, T.Y. Hilton at 27, and Michael Crabtree at 11. His big pick was Dalvin Cook at $54, which was crazy. That's the Zeke Elliott price. Tight end Hunter Henry for 5. He also rounded out his receiving core with Sammy Watkins at 14, and his backup running backs are LeGarrette Blount for 16, Thomas Rawls for 16. Hillers, what do you think of your draft here? What was your strategy coming in?
Well, I don't know. I can't even begin to try to put myself in his mindset right now. I think he was getting desperate at the end, which is why Cook went for 54. I've heard, who was he bidding him up against?
I don't know, but he said he wanted Cook coming in. He thought he was the best rookie running back. He had the best odds to have the most fantasy impact this year.
Okay. This was the guy who had no idea that Edelman was injured or that the Chargers had moved to L.A.
I'm not saying he's right.
Or that Jamal Charles was on
Denver.
Him,
but
that
That was his one thing that he was pretty sure
Yeah.
of coming in. I don't know that he wanted to spend that much, but he also said I think at that point in the
Okay.
draft, it's like I got to
So
spend it
again,
on somebody.
yeah, no, we can harp on we can spend say all you want about spending $54 on Delvin Cook, but to talk to you, the Merrill of since we've been switching to auctions, he got the guy that he wanted. He went all in on him, and he spent all his draft money. So he left no money on the table, and he got the guy that he wanted.
Yep.
Can you really like we
I'm
can
fine with
critique
Cook
the
at
pick,
54.
but I mean, if that's what he wanted, then that's what he did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't, it seems a little high, but whatever. I'd rather spend extra money on that than on Samaj P. Ryan, late in the draft. I mean, I'd rather have, spend it on the guy you really want instead of waiting till later and you get stuck in a bidding war for freaking Cedric Benson, like.
I mean, that kind of works out for you sometimes.
Or Derrick Henry. So,
I like Blunt and Rawls. I like Blunt and I like for 16 and I like Rawls for 16. I don't know if I like them both at the same time for 16.
Right.
Because Bluntly, you don't really know what's going on. And I think having just been reading and listening to what the reports are out of Philadelphia on him, being that there were rumors that he wasn't even going to make the squad. New England did nothing. I mean, his numbers last year definitely helped his case this year for fantasy. Like, I would love to be in those leagues where people look at that and say, "Look, Garrett Blunt scored 18 touchdowns last year. This guy's a beast. Yeah. I want, give me him all day, every day. I want to see how many times he went like in the first round this year." And with the Seattle backfield, given that you don't really know on any given day what's going on with that, I think that this is going to be very similar to the Denver situation.
It's going to be a committee it just came out today. I think they said it's going to be a committee in Seattle. Like, there's not going to be really an RB1.
Right.
So,
and I want to put a pin in this conversation. In Edelman for 3, if we switch to, if and when we switch to PPR next year, and Hillers can manage his team to keep Edelman on his team next year for a year, that'll be a good pick.
He was so proud of himself for that pick. He didn't even know. He was like, he was so happy he got that for 3, and he looked at it and was like, is he hurt or something? Only for the whole season, though.
If you remember correctly, right before the draft, he was like, Julian Edelman tore his ACL and out for the season. And that's where I said, turn off ESPN, because we don't. Yeah. If you don't know what's going on now, you just don't deserve to know what's going on.
And then he had forgotten that by the time he drafted him. So,
and Kenny Britt for $8. Yeah. Again, you spent all your money, so that's fine. I do want to put a pin in this and talk about.
So.
And come back to it in a minute.
What's his starting lineup, right? So he's got Brady, and then I think his top 2 running backs are actually going to be Howard and Cook, right? That's going to be RB1 and 2. Which
sure.
He'll have Hilton and Crabtree as his receivers, probably. And then at flex, he's got a ton of options. He could go with Watkins. He could go with Coleman. He could go with Blunt. He could go with Rawls. He could go with, Britt, I guess, if he works out, So, I don't know. It's a pretty solid lineup. He's got.
It is.
Pretty deep.
It will be interesting to see how Howard plays out, because I think part of the analysis that I was trying to. You shut your mouth, Nick. Howard's going to do fine. Okay, calm down. Calm down. No, you calm down. Howard's a beast. He was the greatest pick of the draft. All right. You win, Hillers. You win.
That is you channeling Hillers for sure. He loves Jordan Howard.
Do we want to move on? Yeah, you better move on. Okay.
No, the Bears. But for $4 again. That said, he's going to have to depend on him. He's going to have to carry his weight there in the backfield because he's got 2 running backs who are not on great offenses. So maybe that could hurt him. I don't know, but pretty solid, pretty deep team. This is one of the deeper teams in the league. I feel like there's a lot of risk though, a lot of risk reward with this team. So
it is,
but could work out great. All right, next team, running out of fucks. This is you, Mr. Makeda.
Yes.
So you came in, you kept Martavis Bryant for 6, Kelvin Benjamin for 9, Rob Gronkowski for 30. You traded for him, and decided to also keep Travis Kelce at 14, going with 2 tight ends. I guess planning on playing both of them. Gronk at the flex. Why the hell not? He's a top receiver, so why would you not do that? Your big picks were Leonard Fournette at 40. You took Zeke at 38 and handcuffed him with McFadden at 27, which gave you $65 worth of Cowboys backfield, which is about what we thought Zeke would go for if he was in the draft and healthy and playing. Finished up with a big pick of Jameson Crowder late at 18, and also got Gio Bernard at 6. Love that pick. The big concern with you was quarterback, and now that we're out of the draft and we're beyond it, how concerned are you with the quarterback situation?
So I'm still not concerned about it because when I was looking over all the teams, and I think that part of my rationale when I was, and I know that everyone was like talking to me about it, saying, "How are you going to manage this?"
Yeah,
And you kept saying,
Jay Cutler, by the way. I didn't
"Yeah,
mention
Jay
that.
Cutler, yeah," which wasn't the right pick at that point, but I didn't know what was going to happen when I came time for me to nominate a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I just kind of threw someone out there to see if I was going to get bid up on him. And I kind of got stuck with Cutler, and I'm kind of okay with that. But I still think that there's enough options out there that I can find Jay Cutler in free agency
Yeah.
on the waivers. So part of what I was thinking when this was going on is if you guys want to keep bidding me up on quarterbacks, you are wasting your money and you are wasting a roster spot on a backup quarterback for yourself right now, which is fine. Personally, I would want the one quarterback on my roster strategy in general because I'd rather spend that roster spot in the draft on other people.
I did that.
Um,
Now I don't have a quarterback. So
what?
I did one quarterback, and now I don't have a quarterback for week 1.
Oh.
So.
I mean, but that's why you're playing the odds on the waivers, and I'm pretty sure you can get Scott Tolzien for $1 on the waivers, so you're going to be okay. So part of my rationale was, well, actually, not even part of all my rationale was you guys can spend your money on these backup quarterbacks and these roster spots, and especially towards the end when roster spots are becoming a commodity, is instead of you being able to take the flyer on
a 5th or 6th receiver,
Ted Ginn for $3, DeAndre Washington for $2, Galladay for $1, which I know that some of these were just complete dark.
Gio Bernard for $6.
Yeah, is fine. You know what? Yeah, I'll skip out on having Joe Flacco for $5. What is Flacco?
Yeah, Flacco went for a few bucks.
Flacco went for $2. I would rather take Giovanni Bernard for $6 than have Flacco for $2.
Carson Wentz went for $4. I was just nominating them. I just kept nominating them when people kept bidding you up on them, and I was like, all right.
I know because they kept thinking well, you're going to spend your money on it, and I was like, I'm not spending my money on a position that is deep enough. And you know what's going to happen? Week 1's going to roll around. The first waivers are going to run, and what's the first thing that's going to get dropped? That's all. You're going to have your crappy players get dropped.
Backup quarterbacks.
But at some point, backup quarterbacks are going to get dropped, and at some point, I'll be able to swoop in and get the Carson Wentzes, the Joe Flaccos, the Ben Roethlisbergers.
So what was your strategy coming in? Did you have a goal, a couple players you were targeting, or?
Well, so as much as I want to say that I was going to target so my first thought was, I'm going to get Andrew Luck, I'm going to get Cam Newton, I'm going to get Russell Wilson because they're all going to be under $10. I wasn't going to spend more than $10 on a quarterback, and I was going to get one of them. Mm-hmm. And then when everyone hit above that point, I was like, well.
They all went for about 13. Yeah.
They did. And at that point in the draft, I was like, well, that's fine because now I'll just spend $1 on Ben Roethlisberger and $1 on, Jay Cutler. Yeah. And there's my team. I now will just play quarterback roulette and start them based on matchups and be fine with it. Was my logic going into it. But then as everyone was getting bid up, I'm like, well, that's fine. Then I'll take this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get spending like Andy who has Aaron Rodgers. I don't get spending $5 on Jameis when you have Aaron Rodgers. To me, when are you going to play Jameis Winston over Aaron Rodgers? Never.
Right.
So to me, that's a wasted roster spot and a wasted $5. Now he had the most money left on the table, maybe. No, Assassins did. But I'm with you on the quarterback. Maybe not as low as you are on him, but I'm kind of with you. But no, I think your draft is good overall, man. Cowboys backfield is good. I love McFadden this year. Obviously, if he can stay healthy, he's going to put up numbers. So, what was the Zeke strategy?
Don't let him go for $38. It was just one of those deals where it was like.
So you're price enforcing?
I was price enforcing to an extent. I don't know where my cap was, but I also knew that given the situation in our league that. Even if he's out for 8 games, because the problem is now at this point at $38, not only if I'm out of it, he's still not tradable to me because he's definitely a keeper at $41.
Yeah.
If the Zeke of last year is the one that comes back, so not only do I not have a player that I can trade now, but I kind of banking on this whole McFadden / appeal thing to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Fournette was just, again, price enforcing because I was really expecting more of a Zeke effect to take effect.
I was too. But he was the first one thrown out, and the first one usually goes for cheaper.
And so I was like, sweet. But again, once you spend $40 on that, and then you spend $38 on Zeke, and then you look at your spots and you said, I bought 2 players and I have $50 left, and I have to buy
A
Darren McFadden.
handcuff. Yeah.
You suddenly realize how little money you have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you were
kind of like,
tapped out at that point because you did spend early. Yeah. Okay. All right. Touchdown Jesus, last team here. He came in. He threw Cam Newton back, but he kept DeMarco Murray for 26, Gillislee for 10, Des Bryant for 31, and Tyreek Hill for 4. He loves his Chiefs. Not that that's a bad keeper. I mean, that's pretty good. His big buys were Bilal Powell at 21, Derrick Henry, his DeMarco Murray handcuff for $39, which was the craziest bidding war of the whole day. He got Cam back for 13. And he got Delaney Walker as his tight end for 16. So, Pritchard, very Pritchard-like draft. What do we think?
he spent Stars money on scrubs.
Like who?
I feel like spending 30. Well, I don't know. I just wanted to say that. Yeah, you're right, Nick. Yeah, he did. I really should have used.
Damn it, Hillers! You guys always agree with each other.
No, I mean he got Cam back, which is smart. Like I'm glad that we called that he was that Cam. You called that Cam was going to be back just because I think his price got a little bit out of control, and
Yeah, it
that
was
he
close to
read
30
the
to
market.
keep him.
Like he read the market and said, I can get $15 is about what he should go for.
Yeah.
In the draft, and that's exactly how he played that right. Bilal Powell, there's lots of hype about him coming out of the season.
He's the only one anyone's heard of on the Jets other than Matt Forte. So.
Right. I don't know. I mean, there's just no like
Delaney Walker, solid tight end, $15-$16, fine.
Right.
Got Eddie Lacy for 13.
It's like
So right now, who's his number 2 running back? Powell, I guess, right? Bilal Powell, probably.
right now that you start comfortably, yes, because you don't start Gillislee week 1.
Right.
Yeah, Powell's number 2, but like, how comfortable do you feel about that?
Not great.
Because you know that the
becomes
teams are
your
just
flex
stacked.
then. Your options are Lacy, Gillislee, Perriman Lee, Matthews. Is that Ryan Matthews? I guess, yeah.
No,
Rashard Matthews.
that's not any better, is it? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's better than Ryan Matthews.
Who is not on a team right now?
Yeah.
I mean, he is on a team. Oh, is he? I'm gonna go get him. I gotta spend all my fab on him.
Not great in the flex, but not bad.
He's not great. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like the weakest starting lineup right now.
He needs Tyreek Hill to really pick up where Macklin left off. He needs Tyreek Hill to be a big part of that offense.
He needs Tyreek Hill to pick up where Tyreek Hill left off.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Everybody's talking about the touchdown regression. He needs that to not happen.
No, he does. That's fine. That's fine because he's going to make up for it in yardage now.
Yeah. So, anyway, if Eddie Lacy wins the Seahawks job, this team gets really scary pretty quick. And,
It does. So Lacy gets hurt again.
Yeah. But, not one of Pritchard's scarier teams, but there's potential. It's out there. So we'll see. Who do you got in this division?
Who are my options again?
Dad Dix, Hillers,
Well, Dad Dix.
or TDJ. Yeah, I'm going Dad Dix too. That team
I mean, how do you not?
ridiculous. It didn't get any. Got better in the draft too. I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, his flex is freaking Frank Gore. Like those receivers aren't all that great. Oh, he's got DeAndre Hopkins or Brandon Marshall. He can play. Yeah, whatever.
So Dad Dix.
So what do we have? We have Dad Dix, Winier, and did we take the same team up top? Both took the Assassins.
Yes.
So we're
So
all
the
on the
choice
same
is-
page here.
Hillers.
I'll take Hillers as a wild card.
I'll say that Hillers and I are fighting for a wild card.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll say that Hillers and I are fighting for a wild card, and I think if depending on what happens with Zeke's appeal, might shift it in my favor.
Okay.
Because then I can start. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I still need something else though. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't like my team.
Okay, then who's our other wild card? So you're taking.
Oh, we said that. We said Hillers and I, Ish, and then we have Weenyes and Asphalt Farm are fighting for that division, and then the other person's going
I'm
to
not
take.
taking Asphalt Farm.
See, I am because I think that all he has to do is manage the team.
I can't take a first year owner. I just can't do it. I need some
Ask Danny
pedigree.
Grimes. Tell that to Danny Grimes.
He didn't win his first year. He didn't get to the
He did.
playoffs his
He did.
first year. No, he
He
didn't.
did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he
Second
did.
year.
No,
Second year.
fine, whatever.
Pedigree, man. Pedigree. So I think the only first time winner of the first year is Matt Litz, who won it the first year of the league. I don't know. I don't know who the other wild card would be. It's tough.
It is.
Dave, maybe? I like the depth of Dave's team.
Would it be easier for us to say who's not a wild card team right now? Who's not a playoff team?
Sure. No, I'd rather not. I'm
Okay.
taking Dave and Hillers as wild cards.
Dave and Hillers as wild cards.
Yeah,
Just another fucking year of me not being in the playoffs.
you and me both, brother.
Yeah, that's right. You better have me in the playoffs. Okay, Hillers.
So if we're good with that, who do you got winning it all?
Oh, Jesus. If I'm going to Vegas to put money on it, Dad Dicks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking Dad Dicks.
God help
Something's got to happen to those running backs for that to not happen, I feel like. So, and even then, he's pretty deep. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
what do you mean you don't know?
This is just.
You got to come up with something, man. We got to wrap this up.
No, I said that. I said Dad Dicks. I
Oh,
said Dad
alright.
Dicks. I said if I'm going to Vegas and had to put some money on something, I said Dad Dicks.
All right.
I'm not gonna do that. So.
Cool. All right, then. There you have it. Dad Dicks over Duplex for the championship.
Okay.
For me.
Done.
So, all right. Thanks for sticking with us. We're gonna wrap it up. Hillers, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, of course,
Appreciate it.
anytime.
Man, you were very quiet, and we got through the podcast. Well, no quicker than normal, I guess. But we appreciate that, and we will talk to you guys later.
Peace out.